Bhavna and you're watching India Today. I have the cast of Rana Naidu with me right here. A huge welcome to Rana, who is playing Rana Naidu, and Surveer, who is playing Naina Naidu in the show. Firstly, a huge welcome, both of you. I love the trailer.
Thank you.
I thought that I'm seeing Rana as this, amazingly different character, which I've not seen you play before, at least in whatever I have seen. So I was really excited. But I want to know, when this role even came to you, what were the two things that ticked off for you to even consider this?
What are the two things that ticked off? Well, I was always keen and interested to do something in the series space, something in long form.
Right.
But I just didn't know what the right story was, and it was clear that I shouldn't do what I'm doing in film here. Right? You have to find another voice. And this was a character that was so complex, and he lived with people that were so much more complex. And to me, I was like, it's the strangest family or the most dysfunctional family that I've ever seen. It's in a world that is crime, politics, celebrity, and all of that. Now I'm saying it just ticked off. Those are the two things that really ticked off.
It is a world, correct me if I'm wrong, which you're familiar with, but not completely. I mean, there's a different side to it completely as well.
Yeah, well, it's the show, so it's a little bit hyper real. It's not what happens outside. It's if I say it's a hyper real world, but yeah, it's a world that I get.
Lovely. Surveen, for you also, I've seen your journey, and every time you come up with something, the one thing that I notice is the character is very strong-headed in most of them. Is it something that comes very natural to you whenever a character comes to you? Is that one of the characteristics that tick off for you?
So, honestly, what ticks, the tick mark for me is if my part is an integral part
Right.
in taking the narrative of whatever I'm doing forward, then that's where I want to be and that's what I want to do.
Right.
And luckily for me, I think makers, directors or producers kind of have now begun to understood, and after having said a few no's in the past, is I think it also kind of sends a message that anything less than this would not be okay for me to kind of invest myself in. So I think that kind of has given me the opportunity to work with makers who actually want to write very, very strong female parts.
Yeah.
Who want to who want to portray their women flawed, unapologetic, just as they are. I mean,
Really?
that's who men, women both are. But strangely, we only look at the the male side to be strong and feminine. I don't think we've ever heard saying, hey, you know what, this is a part for you, Rana. That's a very strong part.
It is just assumed that it is going to be a strong
It's
part.
assumed that way. But with women, it has to kind of be underlined, that, this is how you're contributing to the journey of, whether it's ensemble journey of various parts or, to this particular world. And I think that for me has become very, very important. And well, not that I don't want to be on the other side and do, like, for example, Decouple for me was very, very different. True. And I thoroughly enjoyed doing that. And I'm so glad I was able to do that. So obviously you want versatility and you want to play different kind of parts. But yes,
It is changing for sure right now, from what I also see as an audience.
So it's more fun having to play the stronger parts. So that's how all of us women are.
But has it been difficult? Because I know that you, like you mentioned, you have had to say several no's, and those are also periods where work might be coming in less.
Absolutely.
Also because you're saying no, and people are just like, ye to nahi bolegi, ye nahi karegi. So how do you deal with those days?
Well, it's as a choice you've decided to say no to the kind of work that you don't want to do, and that's going to come with its pros and cons. And you've got the waiting game is of course going to be longer for probably people to understand and realize that that's the message that I'm probably sending out, that this is the kind of work that I'm looking out for. And well, it comes with the for me, I learnt it over time when I got disappointed and when I sat at home and when I realized that nothing's coming to me. But when you're aiming a bit higher, you got to be patient,
Yeah.
right? And in that patience, I feel I've kind of realized that things automatically come, and today, because I'm expecting the wait,
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed.
True. But it's the same with men as well. I feel that because there is a preconceived notion that they are going to play stronger characters, a lot of time vulnerable characters don't come to you, because I feel that it is very different to show men. I think that is also changing now. We see men who cry on screen, which earlier मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता, नहीं भाई मर्द को उतना ही दर्द होता है जितना औरतों को होता है, I feel. And that narrative is also changing on screen. Do you see that change, Rana? Because I feel y'all are also a victim of those preconceived notions sometimes. Do you see that change?
See, today we are in a time that you can tell whatever story you want.
True.
In the way you want it. And what is cinema or stories is just an evolution of how mankind is evolving, and how India and the cultural rooting of India is evolving, right? So whatever films that we've seen in the past, that's how really India was. And we're only a mirror to society. We're not, content doesn't change society, but it's always a mirror up there.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the time like that where across fields you see diversification in terms of the way we are thinking, the way content is being created. So I think it's just a great time. I don't worry about stereotyping or worried about it. It's just how do you find in this world, how do you find a newer story to tell each time?
Right.
Right? Because you don't want to see the same thing again and again. And unless there is something new and fascinating, something complex that you create, something that's extremely layered, whether it's man, woman, doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
You need layered stories, you need emotions that you can hold on to, you can connect with, but also feel caught between that. Right?
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
that's what you need. So that's where my life is directed.
But does it ever get difficult for you from the choices that come to you? Because there is a plethora of choices, especially now with OTT and films and different mediums as well, right? Does it become difficult or challenging to pick the right one? Because that's always very difficult.
Well, I think my life led a little bit differently. It was slightly more edgy and experimental than many other careers are, because I chose to do cinema like that. And at each time, it's such a different story. So I just have never done the same thing twice. I have never played the same character twice. I don't look the same in any two
Yeah.
films unless it's a sequel
Wow.
of the same. But otherwise, so that's been how I've conducted my life right from the beginning. And always in the entertainment world, you'll have a bunch of alternative people whose stories are not being told.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy who tells those stories. So that's how I roll.
That is why I think this combination also works, because both of you, I mean, in fact, for you also, she has always chosen
Yeah, of course,
projects
of course,
which has been different.
Yeah,
in
see,
our
it's the
country.
right people come together. No? That's
That's why I'm
that's how
loving
it
the
is.
trailer as well.
Thank you.
But I want to know from you one interesting thing during the promotions. You have said that, which I completely agree with, that when you did Dam Maro Dam, you had already predicted that there will be a time like this where Indian cinema will come through as a whole instead of dividing between each sort of like.
Yeah, I mean, I was. And I voiced it out a bunch of times.
But do you?
No, not Nostradamus. It's the same people, man. It's
you
just
feel
nobody
it?
took a flight. That's all. So I was like, hey, I was the first guy to take a flight or what? So I just saw similar people. There were similar thoughts. You like similar things. But strangely, people from there didn't assume this was a different place. People from here assumed that was a different place. And language became a problem to many. But then I guess I'm from Hyderabad, because Hindi is also fine, English is also fine, and English really connects the whole country in a very, very different manner, right? So to me, I was like, okay, there'll be a time where a lot more of this will happen, and I guess now it is.
Do you feel validated now suddenly where we see this conversation? That, okay, you remember I had said this. That's why I was like, wow, Rana said this. But Surveen, do you also see that change also? Because it opens the gate to experiment in different languages, which perhaps were considered a barrier earlier. It was considered glass breaking if you're trying something else. Today it's become like, oh, this is nice. Like, there's no extreme reactions. Do you see this as an opportunity to sort of spread across try cinema in different languages.
Produced one of my
Ooh.
first Punjabi films.
And that's actually my granddad's last
And his
film.
last film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Yes.
it's just
Coming of
life
full
comes
circle,
full
I think, yeah,
circle.
yeah.
And I remember one of our first conversations was that you're right there in my office, like on my wall.
So it's funny when I knew she was playing the part. I knew I never met her, but I was like, why is this name so popular? Like, why do I know it so well? Like, it almost felt like a person I knew.
Yeah, yeah.
And in my office corridor is that film poster.
Wow.
That was a film.
Yeah.
Was that the ice-breaking moment for both of you as well?
No, I mean,
No, I
you're
mean,
pretty
we've
funny.
got
Sorry.
various
I'll start
millions, zillions of topics that we
Yeah.
discussed in our first meeting. So no,
Yeah.
it wasn't, but it was a revelation
Yeah, it
actually.
was pretty-
It was pretty straight.
See, and continuing to
funny.
what you asked, right? Like it was normal before. It's just that now
We
with
talk
social
about it a
media,
lot, yes.
everybody
Yeah.
else knows about it.
Yeah.
Earlier, it was just the group who worked.
I feel like this whole inter-industry exchange of talent
Yeah,
or technicians has always been
Yeah.
there.
I agree.
We're talking
Quite heavily, actually.
Yeah, heavily. Yeah. We have the best technicians from the Telugu industry,
Yeah.
from the Tamil industry work here, and the best technicians here. Of course, the artists and
Yeah.
the actors
And vice versa.
directors,
There's so
of course,
many
and
from
vice
here
versa.
who work there. It's-
Exactly.
But sadly, I don't know why. I think this changed. The conversation started to happen a lot more after Bahubali's success.
That's when
in the
everybody
Hindi
kind of knew
Yeah?
that this is
Yes.
what the country
Yes.
Do
connects.
you?
right?
Yeah.
I feel today also there are more platforms to make those conversations, which did not
Exist back then, right?
back then, right? Which is why you feel like there's so much talk going on. But because there are so many platforms available to make various kinds of conversations, whether it's politics, it's entertainment, whether it's culture, whether it's our country, anything under the sun. There's just conversation and conversation and conversations.
The one conversation which everyone is doing right now is Ashish
RRR.
Rajamouli's RRR.
Yeah,
I have to touch upon that
course.
because it's
Of
in the
course.
run for Oscars. It's
Yes.
in the best song category. I want to
Yeah.
know what are your thoughts on it.
Well,
because you've worked with.
Yeah. Well, that award feels like our own because it's
Yeah.
people that I love so much. It's literally people
Yeah.
that made whatever I knew, right? I am excited enough to. If this was not our release, I would have actually been there, just hanging around.
That's so sweet.
That's how excited I am for that.
What about
That's
you?
a really proud moment for us. I mean,
Or I just might end up going there. I just might end up going.
Oh, I would love to see you there as well. Just cheering on for
yeah,
it. For the team.
fully for.
I think there's a belongingness that
Yeah.
I feel like being part of this industry, one has to feel for the mergence of both industries, all regional industries, because ultimately it's Indian cinema.
True.
You know, I think it's high time that we kind of take everybody along
Yeah.
with us, and hence it's a really, really proud moment that something from India has taken over globally.
Yeah, I agree to everyone I'm speaking to internationally. They're just, every time I talk about Indian cinema, they're just like, oh, RRR. And I'm like, oh, yes. Everyone is just talking about the film and it's
Fantastic.
so
You have to
great.
give the
you know.
credit to Rajamouli sir for being able to kind of bring
Yeah.
everything together and the whole global industry.
I still remember when Golden Globe, the announcement happened. It was at 5:30 in the morning or 6 in the morning, right? And I was at a friend's place. I literally shrieked and she was like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, no, the RRR just won an award.
Yeah.
And you know, I believe that is the collective reaction from everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rana Naidu is something I'm really looking forward to. It is releasing on March 10th
10th, yes.
on Netflix. So thank you so much
Thank you,
for
thank you.
entertaining us.
Thank
Thank you.
And for this lovely chat.